Letting the cat out of the bag, here's your look at the new Kotobukiya. This is the DC Comics Bishoujo statue of Catwoman returns. Kotobukiya brings you a new art collection designed by Shunya Yamashita, a well-known Japanese illustrator and game designer famous for his beautiful female characters. The Catwoman Returns statue is a little bit smaller than perhaps some of the other Bishoujo statues we've looked at before. Just how big is she? Well, I'm going to go ahead and take the tape measure and go from her boots to the ends of the dollar bills. And stopping it right there. The statue from foot to bills, you're looking at a figure being, the statue being 5.9 inches, or pretty much safe to assume, 6 inches in length. And that switches to centimeters as being 15 centimeters even. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to switch this back to inches, and I'm going to get the height of the figure, the statue as well. Taking it right to the very top of her ears. Again, she is a little on the smaller side. And stopping the tape measure right there, you're looking at the statue height-wise being 3.7 inches. And that, my friends and members of the mob, works out to be the statue being 9.5 centimeters tall. Getting a close-up look at the statue, as you can see, you've got Catwoman poised and displayed in front of all of, I guess, her loot that she's claimed for the night. It's a really neat display-based option, something different than you would normally get from the conventional Bishoujo statues, which usually have the figure standing fully upright on their legs. This one's a little bit different, and resulting in a statue that can take up a little less space on your display shelf or anywhere that you're displaying these Bishoujo statue releases. Getting a close-up look at the money, you can see how intricate each of the individual coins are. Kotobukiya put as much care to each coin as they did to the one next to it, so that you can see each one of the coins do have their own individual markings to it. That's a small feat, but when you think of it, when you put that in perspective, many companies would have simply just put a lot of blank-faced coins and simply only done the odd few here and there. They actually have done both the silver and the gold, which as much care as, like I said, its neighboring coin. The bills themselves get just as much detail happening to it. It does look like that's perhaps George Washington on the front of the bill. These are all $100 bills from the looks of it. From all the bills that I'm seeing, it does look like they all say 100s. And even though all the printing is done in there, at least it gives you enough of an impression that you know, looking at it, what exactly the denomination is and exactly what kind of currency it is also as well. Getting a close-up look at Catwoman's portrait, I must admit that's a nice looking face sculpt that they've given her. One thing I love, specifically for Catwoman, because I'm a little biased towards Catwoman statues, is that I do enjoy that they gave her as many lashes as they did. Her eyes are completely surrounded by lashes from all various corners of her eye. One of the calling cards for Kotobukiya also releases seems to be, at least for the Bishoujo releases, seems to be a little bit of that gray shading that's right above the top of her eyeball. You can probably see it right there and see it in the corner of her other eye as well. It seems to be across the board that they do this, and Catwoman here is no exception. One thing I really love is her eyes. Those eyes are vibrant in green, piercing in fact. They have used two tones of green, which is surprising for as small as those eyeballs are. Those irises are stunning. Darker green in the one corner of her eye, lighter green on the bottom section right underneath her pupil, meeting up with a little bit of reflection in the corner of her eyes. Really quite stunning. For her face expression, they didn't really do too much, unfortunately. While it is a pretty looking face, I would have loved if they had given her a little bit more of a playful mouth. Something with a much wider smile, maybe peeking off into the corner. A very devilish looking smile, conveying the fact that she walked away with as much loot as she did. Kotobukiya ended up going pretty safe, I think, with the mouth expression. And while I do think it's still good from all angles, a little bit of extra smirk and playfulness in her face I think could have gone a long way as well. Now this is current comic cover artwork for Catwoman. That's a lot of C's. So what she is sporting here is almost this kind of rubber suit that she has in the comics. It does a really great job of reflecting the light. I think one of the takeaways for a successful statue is one that you can look at it from all angles. Well, removing the hair right there. From all angles, it's a good looking statue. Admittingly, you don't see a whole lot on the one side because the arm is draping across, meeting its way up to the knee. But from the front end there, looking at different angles there, especially the side, I really like how that conveys there. But look at how well that light bounces off of the surface of her costume. It really is quite stunning. I think Michelle Pfeiffer would be quite jealous, I think, of this type of costume. Now, she does have the wrapped around, I'll try not to drop it, the wrapped around whip, which as you can see wraps around and branches off to the side here. When you get this out of the packaging, all of this is wrapped up in plastic. I did spend some extra time, a few extra minutes, to try to remove the plastic that they wrapped around the whip. They seem to add quite a bit more around the whip. So I had to take some scissors and just kind of trim away the plastic till eventually freeing it. Last thing I certainly would not have wanted to do is pull the plastic away and end up ripping the whip off in the process. One touch I really like about this statue, and it's hard to miss, is the black tail that's sticking out from the bag of money. It seems that Catwoman's cat has joined the crime spree that night and come along for the ride. A nice little touch. That actually kind of mimics the look of adding on to the cat. When you look at it, between the ears of the cowl and then the subtlety, I don't know if the intention was to do it like this, but having that tail sticking out almost looks like it's a continuation of Catwoman's costume, even though it's not really necessarily the case. Look at the detailing that they've added to her burlap sack. It kind of looks like it is burlap, the way it's meshed and woven. Really, the texture does convey that. You can see the seam line onto the side of the bag and some really nice airbrushing that they've added in the darker, almost dark brown mixed with the lighter beiges and grays. One thing that isn't painted, and something I also want to point out too, is the translucent orange plastic that they've put in her goggles. I do think it's actually translucent plastic and not simply painted. Unless they paint it underneath the lenses and then simply just put the lenses over top of it, it's got almost like a honeycomb coloring to it, and it really works quite well with this statue. Catwoman is small in stature, but don't let the size fool you. Generally, all the Kotobukiya Bishoujo releases that we've looked at on the channel involve the characters standing upright. In dynamic poses, yes, but generally still in a standing pose. Catwoman is the exception to the rule, and kind of works better for a character like Catwoman. You imagine that she's had a whole night of stealing and robbing money. She's now in a playful position, almost about to take a cat nap, and I really think that works well for a character like Catwoman. The coloring on her face is stunning. Again, one thing that Kotobukiya nails quite well, for me at least, is the eyes. The amount of depth and personality in the eyes alone. Yes, there could have been a little bit more personality to Catwoman's mouth, giving her a much more exaggerated smile. I think could have added to the playfulness of this feline. But overall, I'm pretty happy with how this one turned out. The benefit, like I said, in this one is that it's smaller. Being that it's not a standing statue, it means that it can take up a much smaller space. Those cramped quarters, you would almost even imagine Catwoman would only be the one to be able to fit into. This one looks good on a shelf, and like I said, because it's smaller, it doesn't take up a whole lot of space. So if you're a fan of Catwoman, you may want to add this one to your collection. Today we were having a look at the new Kotobukiya release. This was the DC Comics Bishoujo statue of Catwoman Returns. If you managed to pick up this one for yourself, or based on this review and this review alone, let me know down below what you guys think of the statue. Also, if you guys want to go back and have a look at, I mentioned in Final Looks here that I've done a whole bunch of Bishoujo statue reviews, whether it be regular comic statues or my fancy would be the horror Bishoujos. Either way, if you guys want to check out some of the stuff that I've done prior to and leading up to this one, check out my Kotobukiya reviews. My playlist for Kotobukiya will cover off everything I've done up to this point, and all future reviews will also be on that playlist as well. Check out that playlist. Let me know what you guys think in those reviews, and make sure if you are new to this channel, or let's say you're a longtime viewer, hit that subscribe button down below, swing on next door, I'm pretty sure there's a safe there, and turn on that bell notification so that when future videos are coming onto this channel, you'll never miss out. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.